by the African People's Socialist Party and the apartment above it. And this was an attack on the African Liberation Movement. It was an attack on Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who has devoted over 60 years of his life, his entire adult life, to fighting for the liberation of Africa and African people everywhere. So we felt it was incredibly important for us to have this March for Reparations, which was already planned to happen on this day, but for it to happen under the banner of Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa, and to build unity with the campaign, which, as the chairman says, is a counteroffensive campaign that has the following demands. And I want to say these demands because we're going to be talking about how you can get involved right here in St. Louis in building solidarity from the white community with the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa campaign. So first and foremost, this campaign is building unity with the right of African people to advocate and organize for their liberation and unification. So if you unite with that, say, hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. We denounce the FBI and the US government's attacks on the African Liberation Movement historically and currently. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. We demand that the US government drop the threat of any charges against any member of the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru Movement, and those named and implied in the indictment and warrants. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. We demand the return of all confiscated property to the Uhuru Movement and compensation for damages and payment of reparations for the attacks. Hands off Uhuru. Hands off Africa. We demand an end to FBI surveillance and infiltration of the Uhuru Movement and the release of all documents on the Uhuru Movement since the 1960s. Hands off Uhuru. Hands off Africa. And finally, we denounce the assault on the anti-colonial activity and programs of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Movement, such as the Black Power Blueprint and the many other economic institutions and projects. Hands off Uhuru. Hands off Africa. So this is what the March for Reparations is about. It is about building solidarity with African people and the struggle to end this violent, vicious colonial system that has murdered and slaughtered human beings on this planet for hundreds of years to enrich the white population. This comes to an end here with us as we hear this message and come into organization under the leadership of the African working class. So we're going to go into our rally today. We're going to be hearing from the Midwest Regional Representative of the African People's Socialist Party, Kalambai and Annette. And then we will go into many other speakers, including Chairwoman Penny Hess. We have culture. I want to give a shout out to Fofit Al-Kibalan, who's going to be doing some revolutionary poetry in just a moment. We're going to have the honor to hear from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Peru, as well as the endorsers who have lent their efforts towards the building of this March for Reparations. So without any further ado, we've already been well acquainted with this incredibly powerful leader of the African People's Socialist Party. But I just want to say that Kalambai Andanette is currently the Midwest Regional Representative of the African People's Socialist Party, was for at least 6 years the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, emerged out of the flames of the Ferguson rebellions right here in St. Louis, Ferguson, Missouri, and also ran for alderperson in St. Louis on a platform of reparations and Black community control of everything in the African community. So without any further ado, it's my incredible honor to bring up Midwest Regional Representative Kalambai Andanette.
Listen, we was in the march and Chairman right off the bat just came up with a chant and it became my favorite one now. So let's do that one real quick. 2, 4, 6, 8, tell the people who we hate. Uhuru. So I just first and foremost want to say, as Jesse said, my name is Kalambai, and I was born and raised right here in St. Louis. And I really want to start off by saying that everything that I'm about to say, I have to credit it to my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, that is responsible for bringing me into political life. That in itself is why July 29th had to happen. Because now we see whole flush of African working class people that have been shoved out of political life. No attack against my mother and father because they were shoved out as well. My grandma too. And chairman is responsible for actually being able to put out a theory to actually help me be able to look in the mirror and see myself for the first time. So I came into political life shortly after Mike Brown died. And before then, I was a person, I lived in St. Louis, and I was an evangelist, matter of fact, in church. And when Mike Brown died on August 9th, like so many other people, I was frustrated because I didn't have no answers. That the 66 books and everything that my great-grandmother and my grandmother taught me about being manable and everything that they taught me about being strong, none of it was cutting to understand how the hell did this happen? And why are we marching every single day with no demands? What is the to what end? So I was in the search for that when I met Chairman at a march that I was actually about to leave, but it was his stance. It was his whole demeanor. And then he started saying words that I had to look up because I never heard colonialism. I never heard of these things that really was, for the first time, painting the picture of Walnut Park. It was painting the picture of what I had seen, what I had grew up understanding, you know, about my own community, but never being able to understand it, always having my head down because my mom had to bury 2 sons. And I couldn't understand how a good mother had to bury her sons because it's an attack on our community. But we don't misplace the anger, and we don't took the anger and it go horizontally because the big developers and these neo-colonial puppets that have been running through St. Louis, because we haven't had an issue of having Black leadership in St. Louis, but we don't have an issue of having Black power leadership. Yeah. That is in the position of these alder people or these positions. So just like so many, I didn't know no alder person. And as Jesse was talking, I said, wow, look at how the African People's Socialist Party built me a resume. For real. You know, brought me into political life and helped me understand and speak for myself to actually be able to understand that it wasn't my fault why I went to Parkway, graduated from their high school, got their scholarships. I mean, they gave me scholarships. I didn't not graduate from high school. I graduated not in the bottom half of my class, but what so-called the top half. I was one of the chosen Negroes, right? With a scholarship, but still having issues with reading. But this contradiction is not my own. This is so many people contradiction in our community because everything that happened in our community, from their school systems to the hospitals, to even taking out your trash, is done against you to pocket some pennies in somebody else's pocket. Because I mean, y'all read the indictment. They ain't get much to sell us out. And that's only a few that they speaking of. But this historically, in the ward that I ran for in the 3rd ward, the NGA, a whole community wiped out. And it's not the first time that we've seen this happen, where they don't blotted out communities. They don't done this right in Walnut Park, where my grandma's house at right now. A whole community gone, wiped out. They won't even come and cut the grass that's owned by the city. So they got a problem with Chairman Omali Yeshitela because he finds soldiers such as myself and you today. So I don't want to just continue to entertain people because I could be charismatic, you know. But that's not what I want to be an organizer. More than making you feel like, dang, sister, you know, she powerful. I want you to come and stand with me. Yeah. We got work to do right here in St. Louis. Right. We got to take our communities back. And we can't be fooled and think that we fighting for likes. Because it might be unliked to say reparations. Right. Real reparations. One that do not mean that we have to apply for something to pay your water bill. That's an insult. Yes. But a reparations bill that every African person get. Pookie and Ray Ray, little stomach ache and little pistol starter. Right. They deserve their reparations.
If Becky could get her reparations, do all the drugs in the world, go to every rave she want to go to, then yes, reparations to the African working class. I know what I said. This is what we have to do. So we have a Sunday rally every Sunday. I need you to be there tomorrow. We have a Sunday rally at 3 o'clock every single Sunday. Hands off Uhuru, hands off African people. They have attacked the Uhuru movement. Uhuru is a Swahili word that means freedom. They have attacked freedom for the last time, y'all. They don't attack us. They have attacked every liberation struggle, every formation that ever stood on the right side of the question, they have attacked. But we ain't silently going in the house. We out here in these streets. So be there at 3 o'clock. We have the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market, because we are not about talk. We are talking about not simply changing the ideas in white people's head to make them like you, you know what I'm saying, make them marry you. I could care less about that. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but I don't care about no white person dating me, liking me, or any of that. That's not what this is about.
Right.
Because after you lay with them and all that, you still colonize. And nothing ain't gonna change that. So it's not about that. It's about gaining power as a people. So the Uhuru movement and the Black Power Blueprint, let me really appreciate my leadership, Deputy Chair Onizade Shatella that's in the room as well. A woman that don't have many words, but man, her work speaks loud and clear. That's probably why she don't like talking, because she just do big work and let it speak for itself. The Black Power Blueprint is a concrete thing that you could come and see. I'm not talking about fluff and what some rumors or something. I'm talking about actually you can walk and touch and see. You know what I'm saying? All your senses can be touched with the Black Power Blueprint. So we have the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market that address the food portage they say we live in. But as Chairman Omali Yeshatella remind us that we live in a food power desert. Somebody control the narrative that say that you shouldn't have food in your neighborhood. Right. It's not that a seed can't be put in the ground and food can grow. And it definitely don't mean that we don't have no areas where we can put a grocery store. But we ain't just asking no Walmart. We're gonna have our own Walmart. So we have the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market that I'm almost out of time, so I can't go through it. But we are up to our last market on July 29th. Where we gonna, oh, yeah, July, I keep on saying July 29th. Girl, it's staying in my brain. You hear me? It's staying in my brain. October the 29th, we are having a big Halloween market to the north side, where people on the north side are living off barely $5 a day. So something like Halloween becomes depressing because you don't have a car to take your kids on the other side of the Delmore Divide on the south side where they can get candy at. But we want the north side to have all the candy that they have, because like Deputy Chair always remind us that the African working class deserve the best. And we gonna bring it to them. So I need my brothers. I need my uncles. I got my granddaddies, everybody. I need you to volunteer. The community needs to see what's that thing that, what's her name? The white woman that ran for office, the horrible lady. Hillary Clinton lied. You know, she's a thief, y'all. She a murderer and a thief and everything else. And she lied and said that she corned that it take a village. But we know that that's something that we always do. So it take a village. And I want the kids to be able to see you and having confidence in them. Because I work with young people on the north side all the time. And they tell me that they see themselves through your eyes. And you've been watching the news too much. And you look at them with fear. Because the news told you to fear your own kids. Come there and show them love. And where we have a platform where we can put Chairman Omali Yeshatella up, where we can talk about real issues, where they can learn about Marcus Garvey and the red, black, and green. So July 29th, feet, 4 feet, October, July 29th, I won't stop saying. October the 29th, feet, 4 feet, C. Jordan, they assign you up to be a volunteer for the market. And last but not least, we are going to march the White House. Yeah. Yeah, we going hard. And we don't got that many seats, but I would love to have a contradiction that I got to get another vehicle. So you still have time to get on the bus. We are going to march, saying our chants loud. People will be traveling all over the states to be in DC. Not no march where we're gonna tell women that they need to learn how to sew. But we're gonna let the White House know that we know that you the real crack house. Because during the coronavirus, we couldn't get toilet tissue or paper towels, a hand sanitizer. But all the heroin, all the crack, all the marijuana you want came through. So who the crack house? The White House. And Uncle Sam is the pusher man, as Chairman said.
Sure.
So we're going to let them know. We know who you are. And we're going to beat these streets down. It's a 2-day conference. It's a Black is Back coalition. And that is, they're coming around with flyers. Thank you, comrades. So that's November the 5th and 6th, November 5th and 6th, November the 4th.
Yeah.
We will be leaving from 4101 West Florissant. You can get on the bus, $100. Get on the bus, ride down where we have political education, that we deepen our understanding of what we're going to do, and we're going to march on White House with the rest of everybody else that's saying hands off Uhuru, hands off African people. We ain't backing down. The Uhuru movement did not step down from anything that we laid out since July 29th. That same day, we got 15 women certified full service doulas in our community. No, we didn't step down for nothing. We've been moving.
Yeah.
We've been moving relentlessly. But like I said, it's what we do together. So unity through
Reparations.
Unity through the world.
Unity through
Reparations.
Unity through
Reparations.
2, 4, 6, 8. Tell the people who we hate. Love it. Thank you, Chairman, for that new chant. That was amazing. I just want to salute Representative Columbine and echo the call. Raise your fist if you're planning to go to Washington, D.C. for the March on the White House. There we go. There we go. So if you haven't gotten your flights, or get on the bus. Let me say that first. Get on the bus. $100 for travel and housing. You cannot beat that. And this is going to be powerful. We want to be there in full force as the Uhuru Solidarity Movement to have a massive contingent of white people marching under the leadership of the Black is Back coalition at this historic march. And just think about this. On July 29th, Joe Biden and the FBI made their violent, vicious presence known right at the doorstep of the home of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And on November 5th, Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African Revolution is going to make its presence known right at the doorstep of Joe Biden's house. You don't want to miss that. So without any further ado, I am very honored to introduce our next speaker, who was present in St. Petersburg, Florida, over 46 years ago, when Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party held the founding conference of the African People's Solidarity Committee to address the problem of what to do about the white people. What is the principled relationship for white people under the leadership in solidarity with the African Revolution? The chairman answered that question with the creation of the African People's Solidarity Committee. Penny Hess was there at that founding conference, and she has been here ever since, in the trenches under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, building white solidarity with Black power. It is an honor to introduce APSC Chairwoman Penny Hess. Uhuru.
Thank you, Jesse. I want to salute everyone who came out today, everybody who marched, and my responsibility is to talk to the white people under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party. And I just want to say how significant it is to see a number of white people marching down the streets of St. Louis with signs and a commitment of unity through reparations to African people in the city that murdered Mike Brown, that has built itself of constant, unending assaults on African people. Mill Creek Valley throwing toxic chemicals off the Pruitt Igo rooftops with generations of African people growing up with cancer in their family, every possible assault that the United States knows was formulated here in St. Louis. And it is historic for white people to take this stand of unity through reparations and the right of African people to fight for their liberation. I want to start also, I want to salute President Kalumbai for that profound presentation. And I also want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is also our leadership in the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Chairman Omali Yeshitela is the leader of the African Revolution. You've heard about Malcolm X, you've heard about Martin Luther King. Chairman Omali Yeshitela was the young African man in the 1960s. He summed up when he saw what the FBI and US government did to the African Revolution, the assassinations, the imprisonment of African people, some of whom are still in prison today for struggling for their freedom in the 1960s. The chairman summed it up. What will it take for African people to win once and for all their freedom and liberation? In Africa, the return of their resources and the liberation of African people everywhere. The chairman took that on as a young person, and he has fought, he has gone up against everything, he has solved the problems of the revolution. And I salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and I want you to know, as Jesse laid out, that assault by the FBI was the most intense and violent assault on the African liberation movement since the 1960s. Yeah. And it is also incredibly important that we have white people here in the streets of St. Louis who are saying we will not stand by and let the US government do that to people who are struggling to win their freedom and liberation. I also want to salute Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, the incredible leader, developer, architect of the Black Power Blueprint, which is about political and economic power in the hands of the African working class. And I do want to say that, yes, it was incredibly historic and probably very lucky on my part that I was there 46 years ago. We just had the 46th anniversary of the African People's Solidarity Committee, I think 2 weeks ago, 46 years. And everything that we understand now about what solidarity means, what reparations means, what the struggle of African people is, colonialism, not against racism, all of that the chairman laid out then in the 1976. And when I heard the chairman speak, and I was not a political activist really that much. I was affected by the 1960s when, as the chairman said, revolution was the main trend in the world. And it was incredibly exciting to be alive, to see the time when Che Guevara, Mao, and Fidel, and the revolutionaries, and Patrice Lumumba, and Kwame Nkrumah were alive, and there was a sense in the whole world that this system would be overturned, and that those that had been colonized by this vicious colonial system that we live in would be free and liberated. But that was crushed by a brutal counterinsurgency, a war of the imperialist colonial powers against the revolutionary struggles of the colonized rising up in a just struggle to be free. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela has ushered in this period, and it has told us that, and I know that the chairman put this out in the very first conference in 1976, The struggle is not against racism, the ideas in white people's heads. The struggle is against colonialism.
Yes.
And that African people and indigenous people are colonized inside the borders of the United States just as much as any place else in the world, if not more so, because in so many ways, it's this invisible reality, but it is there. It is there in all the statistics. The median income of white people in St. Louis is, or assets, I would say, is $183,000 a year. For African people, it's like $20,000 a year. And this is why. Why is this true? Because there is colonialism inside the US. This is the problem, because we can unlearn racism all day, every year. We can make ourselves feel good. We can go home to our side of the Del Mar Divide, but everything on the north side of that is still there.
Right.
The police, the poverty, the conditions that African people experience every single day. And Chairman, what he explained to us, what he took on, what it just tore all of the myths that we tell ourselves. He explained that the only reason that white people in the United States or anywhere we are, in Europe, in Africa, in Australia, in Israel, wherever we are the colonizers. We are the colonizers, and we live off the expense of the assault, Europe's assault on Africa, the kidnapping of African human beings, the trafficking, all of these things that we hear today. This is where it came from. Hundreds of years of assaulting and stealing everything that African people and Africa as a continent had, and putting it into the hands of white people. And so this is why, as the chairman has said, the true class struggle, the true working class in the world is the African and colonized working class, not white people, because all white people, and you know this is true, you and I know this is true by just living our lives and seeing it. All white people sit on the pedestal on the backs of African and indigenous people. And, you know, the statistics are that even poor white people have an easier ability in a crisis to raise $3,000 in an emergency than middle-class African people do.
Yeah.
Because we live in social wealth.
Yeah.
We live with the wealth surrounding us. And we have the ability to see the conditions that African people experience or ignore it. Look at all the streets named Cherokee and Chippewa. We never give that a thought.
Right.
This was their land. It still is. It still is. And all the conditions that African people experience, we can only, when African people are rising up and resisting, then we have to think about it. But other than that, we can go back to our place on the pedestal. So what we're calling on everybody to do today is say and make a commitment. I cannot walk away from this reality. I cannot not see colonialism right before my eyes. And I see that the African People's Socialist Party put white people under their leadership because they are serious and organized and disciplined as the African working class to overturn this system, which it must go. It's in an incredible crisis, war, environmental destruction, everything that we see. This is all part of and a result of a colonial system that is take and dominate and murder and slaughter and commit genocide and all of the hideous things that human beings can do to other human beings. This is what Chairman Omali Yeshitela has taught us. We can take the stand, and we have to be organized. We have to do something. We have to be able to join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. This is a movement far bigger than St. Louis. This puts us into a principled relationship to African people and oppressed people around the world, not appropriating their culture or some other hideous opportunist way that we always do. You know, but to say that how can we rectify this, and that reparations are not a favor, they're not something to make us feel good. They're owed to African people. It's everything. There's no not, the chairman calls it the colonial mode of production. Every single thing that we have, there's nothing that we have that doesn't come from African people. Stolen on the stolen land, or from the colonized people of the planet Earth. So I know my time is up, and I just really want to salute this incredible rally. And I hope people can come out tomorrow to the conference that is going to be at the Uhuru House, 4101 West Florissant. Again, I want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onasene Yeshitela, African People's Socialist Party, and just say unity through.
Unity through. Unity through. Let's give another round of applause for Chairwoman Penny Hess. Uhuru. Thank you, Chairwoman Penny, for that powerful presentation. And I just want to reiterate that the conference is tomorrow. It is a continuation of this March for Reparations, and it begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning at the Uhuru House, Aquaba Hall, 4101 West Florissant Ave. So we'll be putting out more information about that throughout the day. But I just want to once again salute and thank Chairwoman Penny Hess for the statement, for the leadership on what it means, on what it looks like, on what it sounds like to be a white person in solidarity, in principled solidarity and unity with the African Revolution. So thank you, Chairwoman Penny Hess. And as we approach our keynote presentation from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, to take the excitement here over the top, I'm very excited and honored to introduce Fofi Al-Kibalan, Uhuru, you can applaud, please do, who is a leading member of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, as well as an incredible revolutionary poet. So please join me in welcoming Fofi Uhuru.
Uhuru. This is called Flashbang. On July 29th, 2022, the FBI attacked me and you. The attack on the Uhuru movement is an attack on all African people.
Yes.
5 a.m., the alarm rang. Flashbang, flashbang. Loudspeakers fill the air. A combat tank, battle armed brigade at my door, rifles and red lights on my chest. In unison, 7 of our holdings were invaded. 40 years of historical files stolen and desecrated. Every cell phone, tablet, laptop, and database removed. This attack has not changed our direction to Africa and Africans' liberation in our lifetime. Fist up!
Fight back!
Fist up!
Fight back!
Fist up!
Fight back!
This is what we do. Our leader is the greatest, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, a pretty awesome fella too. Self-reliant, self-governing, the ability to feed, clothe, and care for ourselves is our liberty. This revolution must be led by the African working class. For over 50 years, Chairman guidance has been on point to complete the African Revolution set in motion by Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and the Black Panther Party started. This
This is why we were attacked. Our liberation is on track. The state attacked Africans every day, using laws to keep our freedom at bay. Their system is dying, just not fast enough. The Uhuru movement is challenging the dynamics of the ruling class. Thanks. Thank you, Chairman. We have theory. On July 29, 2022, we were attacked. Our goal is to be free, is for freedom for you and me. Africans at home and abroad. African liberation is in our lifetime. Hands off Uhuru.
Hands off Africa.
Hands off Uhuru.
Hands off Africa.
Unity through
Reparation.
unity through
Reparation.
Uhuru.
Give it up for Kofi. Uhuru. Hands off Uhuru. Hands off Uhuru. Unity through reparations. So Fofi in that powerful revolutionary poem said, this revolution must be led by the African working class. And that brings us to our keynote speaker, the leader and founder of the International Uhuru Movement, the chairman of the African Socialist International, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, who has fought for over 60 years every single day to complete the Black Revolution of the 60s and to make African liberation and the liberation of all humanity a reality in his lifetime. It is a profound honor to introduce our chairman, Omali Yeshitela. Uhuru.
Uhuru. First of all, I would really like to express my appreciation to Uhuru Solidarity Movement for organizing this extraordinary march and rally that we've had today, and for organizing for the conference that's going to happen on tomorrow. And I hope everybody here will participate in that conference as well. And I cannot overstate the significance of your presence here. I stand before you as a dignified African man, struggling to rescue the dignity of African people. I stand before you understanding the falsity of the narrative that has been created to explain the relationship that Black people have to white people and to this world. Recognizing that the truth of the matter is that Africa, my Africa, our Africa, that was the founding place, the birthplace of human life itself. The birthplace of human life itself. The birthplace of human civilization itself. That this Africa obviously cannot be hostile to life under natural and normal circumstances. It is the origin of human life. And that something had to happen to change that, to transform this reality. I stand before you as a dignified African man fighting to rescue the dignity of African people that can only be achieved ultimately through our liberation. Recognizing that Africa, my Africa, our Africa had created tremendous civilization, built pyramids and things like that before Europe even discovered fire, how to use fire. That's just an objective truth, an objective reality, and something that has to be said because we have to slay all of those falsities that have been created by the colonizers to define this relationship that exists between Africa, African people, and particularly Europe and what is now characterized as white people. It is a false narrative. It is a lie. It is a part of a superstructure, if you will, that has its origin in an economic base of colonialism. The truth of the matter is, and this is something that we must all understand, because we just can't continue to run around hating environmental damage, running around hating the wars that happened, hating a Democrat because they started the war, hating a Republican because they started the war, trying to make a decision whether Republicans or the Democrats are the real problem or something to that effect. Doesn't explain anything to us. Even what is being characterized most of the time as the fight for socialism, even what is being characterized most of the time as the fight against the conditions that people are dealing with, or whether that's the rights of homosexuals or women or workers, etc. We can't get to it without uncovering the reality that the world economy that we are confronted with right now, the one that's in such big trouble, the one that's responsible, that is to say, this trouble that has led to the crisis that's exploding in our faces every day all around the world, that's resulted in permanent warfare. You can't even stop the wars that's happening, that's being made. That this political economy, the political and economic configuration of the world today owes itself to an economy that was created through slavery, colonial slavery. This is the origin. This is the thing that hooked up the world for the first time in history into a single world economy. That was the basis for the so-called capitalist system. You can't even imagine capitalism without the theft of this land that we stand on right now. You can't even imagine capitalism about the aggression that was made against the people of Asia and what we characterize as the Americas. It couldn't have happened. It rests on this foundation that Karl Marx referred to as a primitive accumulation of capital, because he asked, how do we explain the existence of capitalism? Jesus didn't bring it.
Come on.
Even Billy Graham didn't say that. You understand? How do we explain it? Where did it come from?
Yeah.
And of course, the place that it came from was the attack on Africa, initiated essentially by Portugal more than 600 years ago, that started the transfer of African people from Africa against our will at gunpoint around the world. America is a colonial power.
Yeah.
People easily say, well, France was a colonial power. Even today, France, on a very shaky foundation, controls something like, what, how many? 14, 15 so-called African states. People can say that France is colonial power, England, colonial power. England, up until 1945, controlled a quarter of the world's population and the world's territory. Little England, rocky England, barely inhabitable England did that. And where did it come from? And all of us, everybody in this, within the ability to hear me, had come to understand fantasy for history. That somehow, in the narrative of Rudyard Kipling, that Europeans left Europe to take up the white man's burden. Didn't want to do it, but it's our burden. Got to take civilization and Christianity to the savages around the world. That's what we've been taught. That's taught today, even if it's only by inference. It has to be taught. Otherwise, white people couldn't even voluntarily live south of the Delmar Divide. Have to believe in it. Yeah. That's why this march is so important. Yeah. That's why this unity through reparations is so important, because it gives the colonizer for the first time an opportunity to engage in real class struggle against a class enemy. That's the bourgeoisie. That's the colonial bourgeoisie. Yeah. It's a colonial bourgeoisie. Every activity that most of the people on the planet Earth are engaged in today happens within the colonial mode of production. It's a parasitic mode of production. Yeah. It promotes parasitism and the ideas even that people have. You can't even explain most of the ideas that permeates the world under the domination of colonialism without recognizing it's a part of a colonial superstructure a superstructure resting on the base, the economic base of a parasitic theft of resources and life for the vast majority of people on earth. That's what we're looking at. The Black Revolution of the 1960s, and in that I include most of the revolutions around the world, was fundamental. It was clearly an anti-colonial revolutionary movement. Peoples all around the world were engaged in this struggle to get the white man's boot off our necks, to get colonial power off our necks. Everybody was engaged in that struggle. 1966, a magnificent conference happened in Havana, Cuba. Tricontinental Conference. People from Africa, Asia, and Latin America got together to deal with colonialism. Not a single word was said about racism, colonialism.
Right.
That's what the people of the world understood they had to fight for. And then, of course, Che Guevara couldn't be there. He sent a message from Bolivia. He would die in Bolivia, October 9th, my birthday, October 9th, 1967. And this was a part of the counter-offensive that the colonial powers had initiated to crush this magnificent global movement of the peoples of the world to rectify this relationship that colonized people have with Europe and the European colonial powers. This is what we're dealing with. This is why when the African People's Socialist Party was founded in 1972, we made it as a mission, articulated mission, wrote about it over and over again, that we have to complete the Black Revolution of the 1960s. Che wasn't finished.
Right.
Nkrumah wasn't finished. Malcolm X wasn't finished. Patrice Lumumba wasn't finished. Marcus Garvey wasn't finished. We had to complete that revolution.
Yes.
That would liberate the peoples of the world from this relationship we have, and everything that articulates itself all about social and political relationships have the basis in this colonial mode of production. That's what we're fighting for. When we talk to white people and say, we know you love us and all of that, but the real deal is we got to get rid of colonialism.
Yes.
And that has happened whether you love me or not. And to quote a movie that became quite infamous despite its reactionary founding, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn all. The incomparable Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it?
What love got
You know what I'm saying? The fact is that there's a colonial relationship that has to be destroyed. And colonialism is a parasite.
Yeah.
And there's no other way you can define it except parasitism.
Yeah.
You can't explain the relationship on one side of this city versus the other side of the city without parasitism unless you unite with that ridiculous politic that presupposes some backwardness and political and social and historical ineptitude on the part of Black people. We do it to ourselves. Of course, that's not true. Nobody in this room believes that.
Right.
So that's why they attacked me on July 29th. Because we're going to complete this movement. We're not going backwards. They killed Mike Brown. That's one of the things that drew me in here. They killed Mike Brown. He was just one of the more recent ones. They killed more since then. They killed one young African here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
They shot him so many times while he was down that there were 20 some odd times they shot him. There were indentations in the cement on the sidewalk where they had killed him. They killed somebody right on Shaw, etc. This stuff happens all the time.
16-year-old.
This is the reality that African people face with terror. Because you cannot keep a people under colonial domination without the most incessant, serious kind of violence imposed on them all the time. Sometimes the violence is obvious, like the police killing us. Sometimes it's not so obvious. Sometimes it's the educational system that we send our children into. For nothing but terrorism is imposed on the children.
Come on.
Demoralization on a regular basis. They cannot come into contact with their own humanity. A recognition of the place that we occupy in the world. That Africa was center of the universe for the longest period of time.
Yes.
And now we've been reduced to this at gunpoint.
Yes. Reduce to this. Come on.
At gunpoint.
Mm.
You see? Ain't that right, sister?
Yes.
Of course it is. And so the point is, we can't live like this. None of us can live like this. And the fact of the matter is, we say unity through reparations. Fact is, we gonna get reparations. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they come.
We already getting reparations. And that's the significance of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, African People's Solidarity Committee in some ways. Because part of what we did in terms of the responding to the terror that came about in the 1960s that killed Malcolm, that killed King, that killed Fred Hampton, some of them we know by name. We don't even know the numbers, however, of people who were locked up in prisons throughout this country during this period of time. Some of whom are still there. Some are running for their lives like Asala Shakur in Cuba. This is the reality that has been imposed on African people at gunpoint, kept under these circumstances at gunpoint. Something the African People's Socialist Party said we would change. And part of what we did in terms of dealing with this revolution, dealing with the contradictions, colonialism, we opened up a new front of struggle. Even as they were killing us, we opened up a new front of struggle. We didn't just crawl away because they attacked us. We opened up a new front of struggle, made it necessary for them to have to deal with black power and white face. That's the meaning of the African People's Solidarity Committee. That's the meaning of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. That's the meaning of you who have joined us and marched down the street saying unity through reparations, that they had the ability to say FBI, CIA. Point it out to the people. Really appreciate y'all coming and being able to do that. We have to have a movement to change this. Everybody proclaims hatred of these circumstances. What kind of choices you got when it's locked into Biden or Trump? What kind of choice is that? The Democratic Party or the Republican Party? What kind of choice is that?
Right.
Neither of them will ever put the freedom of the people on the ballot.
Never.
In fact, the fear that the real deal would get on the ballot would have you attacked at 5 o'clock in the morning and accused of being a Russian agent.
Yes. 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 Yes.
We ran. Comrade Jesse Neville there, white guy, who is the head of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, 2017, in a city, not like St. Louis, majority African city, as much as they're doing right now, to change that, to change the demographics, to push the Africans out of here. But St. Petersburg, Florida, a 20% African population, and Jesse courageously stood up and ran for mayor in that city off the slogan, unity. You want to unite this city? Unity through reparations. And he ran next to Comrade Akile Anai, who was also attacked in St. Petersburg, Florida. They said that we are supposed to be able to run for office.
Right.
It's not like we attacked City Hall with AK-47s. It's not like we woke the mayor up at 5 o'clock in the morning with flashbang grenades or anything like that. We just running for office.
Right.
You say that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you want to advance your cause, run for office.
Right. Yeah.
But they don't want you to run for office. They want you to run for office on their terms.
Yeah.
If we had said, let's fight against racism, which is an extraordinary struggle, how you know when you won?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm fighting against racism.
Yeah.
How do you know when you won? Did you win? Did somebody come out waving a white flag saying, we surrender?
Yeah. I like you now.
It's fallacious.
Right.
But colonialism is real.
Yeah.
And so when that movement that we talked about happened in the 1960s, that galvanized the majority of the peoples of the world, China, Vietnam, all over Africa, throughout the Caribbeans and Black and Puerto Rican and indigenous populations inside this country in motion to destroy colonialism. That's the thing that was intolerant.
Yeah.
That's the thing most of the white left couldn't deal with. We had to have a politic that said what we were about is trying to join you. Not that we wanted to have our own freedom. And then what happens, of course, when you say that, you are assailed with this characterization of what you're about is you are some kind of Black separatist.
Right.
You are a separatist.
Right.
And that's part of the whole subjective politic of racism, anti-racism. It's subjective. It's some kind of personal stuff. I like you, you like me kind of stuff. That might be good for the bedroom.
But right. But they ain't doing nothing.
No, that ain't what it's about.
Yeah.
This is the kind of politic that they would have us promoting, not the struggle to rectify this relationship. Because as I said, the political and economic configuration of the world today revolves around the theft of life and resources from the peoples around the world who are colonized. A lot of so-called progressives and leftists like to run around talking about, we are the 99%. Well, you can't prove that by me. Because the reality is that something like 80% of the human beings on the planet Earth, 8 out of every 10 human beings on the planet Earth, on this earth that we occupy, are trying to live of less than $12 US a day. That's 80% of the people. 50% of the people who live on this earth that we occupy right now are trying to survive on $2.50 a day. And if you're in Africa, you work all day just for a single meal. Tell me what the hell is that 99%, that 99% that you're talking about? That doesn't equal 99%. And I'm not saying that all the white people get everything that the guy with Microsoft with the big eyeglasses gets. I'm not saying that. But the point is that everybody, the majority of them, have fought for the gravy that comes from this train. And the biggest argument has been had that they call class struggle is a debate over who's going to get how much. Right. Not against colonialism itself, right, but who's going to get what from this parasitic relationship we have. Right. So I'm calling on you to join this struggle against colonialism. Because to support the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Movement, I'm glad to hear. I don't like the fact that Jewish Assange is locked up either. I don't like what they're doing to Chelsea Manning either. But to support this struggle here is to support the struggle against colonialism and the domination of alien and foreign domination of Black people. This is the attack on Marcus Garvey. The FBI is not just an anti-Uhuru, anti-African People's Socialist Party organization, it's an anti-African organization. Right. America is an anti-African organization. I've seen where pundits from America was accusing Russia of committing war crimes in Ukraine. I'm saying America is a war crime. Yeah. America is a war crime. All you got to do is go to one of these concentration camps that they call Indian reservations, right, to understand that. All you got to do is go to one of these concentration camps that they call housing projects to understand that. Go to one of these concentration camps that they call prisons. Go to the workhouse right here in St. Louis and see what it is that I'm talking about. You got a prison of nations here. And the people want to be free, the people will be free, and they don't have enough flashbang grenades in their arsenal to stop this train.
That's right.
And so I just want to say, part of what they have done or attempted to do with this is to bully Black people so that you'll be too afraid to ever raise the critical questions, that you'll run around forever saying, I'm fighting to make white people like me. You call it anti-racism, right? They want to keep us locked in that situation. They want to keep us afraid, living under fear to such an extent that we won't stand up for our children. My wife is sitting there. And when I came out of our house at 5 o'clock in the morning on July 29th, and there's an armored vehicle sitting in front of my house surrounded by these military forces in flak jackets and camouflage gear and carrying automatic weapons and what have you. And then she comes out behind me. And then she's almost hit in the face by a drone that they're sending up the stairs. This is a military assault on a community. I got back to St. Petersburg, Florida just the other day for the first time after the attack there. And I'm talking to people who in the neighborhood. They say how they had blocked off the entire community. There's nobody even in the damn house. We're here. They blocked off the entire community. Wouldn't let people in or out of the community. If somebody was trying to leave their house to go somewhere, you live here, yeah, what the hell does that have to do? Do they think the whole community is working for the Russians? It's ridiculous. It's garbage. They don't believe it and they know you don't believe it. And therein lies the problem. They know that it's unbelievable. They know it's a ridiculous charge that they made against us, so they're not relying on the law at all. They're relying on the gun. They're relying on the ability to lock me up, kill me, which is what they have done historically to people who have fought against them. They locked Garvey up, they killed Malcolm, they killed King. This is what they intend to do, and that's why what you've done is so important, because we're not slithering away in the dark. We recognize that this contradiction is something that they open up to public view. They did to us in the 60s, and sometimes we didn't know exactly what was happening. It was later that we understood by COINTELPRO, but this time they announced it. They say, we are the FBI making an attack on your movement, and we're saying this because of Russians. They put it out in the world. They told us when we were standing out in front of our house, on the side of our house right here in St. Louis on Redbud, they told us this is going to be in the newspaper. You're going to make a lot of news. This is what they said to us while we standing there, and they did make a lot of news. Now, at least 500,000 people have seen it on just Channel 2. And they've heard what I've had to say about it. I never had that audience before. Thank God. And so I'm hoping that you'll join us. I'm hoping that you'll also support the Black Power Blueprint. Listen to me. They talk about a so-called food desert.
Come on.
In the community that I live in, it's necessary for Africans to travel for at least 20 minutes on the interstate to get to a damn supermarket. Yeah. We do it all the time if we can get the transportation. I'm asking you to travel from wherever the hell you are. Yeah. And to come every Saturday at 10 o'clock, spend your money in the African community. Yeah. Because my money is in your bank. Right. That I spend when I go to Walmart, when I go to Target and all those other places, they take my money. And then they put it in their banks. I can't even have access to my own money. Sure don't. They take my money. They loan that money. They use that money to make money with. I can't make no money from it. Yep. I'm saying you have to defy them. Come every Saturday, 3 o'clock. I'm saying come on Sundays to the meetings that we're having every Sunday at 3 o'clock. I said Saturday at 3 o'clock, but Saturday at 10. And Sunday at 3 o'clock, and come to the conference that's going to be happening on tomorrow. Thank you, comrades. I really appreciate it. Hands off. Hands off. Hands off. Hands off. Uhuru! Uhuru! We will win. We are winning. Uhuru!
Uhuru! Give it up for Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Uhuru! Hands off Uhuru!
Hands off Africa!
Wow, I really, really want to appreciate that powerful presentation from Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And that was powerful. That was an incredible presentation. I'm a little bit speechless, but there was so much in there. I just want to unite with the chairman's call that we can join the class struggle. White people, the colonizers, can join the class struggle through participation in the struggle against colonialism. And that's the next thing we want to talk about before we have the opportunity to hear from those who have endorsed this important march for reparations today. We want to talk about how we can actually put in practice what Chairman Omali Yeshitela has just called on us to do. And we want to raise funds today. And I think there's somebody passing a basket around. Okay, good. So you'll be getting a basket passed around in just a moment, because we want to raise resources. We want to raise at least $1,000 today to support the work of the African People's Socialist Party. Do we believe we can do that?
Yes.
Uhuru. And when we say the work of the African People's Socialist Party, this is reparations. Solidarity is not charity. Solidarity with African liberation is the stand of reparations in action. These resources will go directly to the work of the African People's Socialist Party in St. Louis and around the world to advance the anti-colonial struggle of African people for power over their lives and resources. And one of the ways that you can contribute towards the raising of this goal today is by actually becoming a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, to be under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela, to make the commitment to organize in the white community for reparations to African people, and to stand in unconditional solidarity with the right of African people to lead and win their own struggle for liberation, which is the struggle for the liberation of all humanity. You can become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement by going to uhurusolidarity.org and clicking Become a Member, or uhurusolidarity.org/join, or you can fill out that envelope, that pledge card that's being passed out to you right now. Check off a membership level. You can become a sustaining member where you contribute reparations monthly to the work of the African People's Socialist Party. You can do a one-time contribution of $25 towards the work of the party. And when you become a member, you become connected to an organization that's in 130 cities throughout this country and beyond, that is working day in and day out to build the movement for reparations to African people. So I just wanted to make this call for you to join and ask, is there anybody here tonight? And I also want to say that we are active on the ground here in St. Louis. We have the Uhuru Solidarity Center, a beautiful building owned by the African People's Socialist Party, where we have the honor to work from on 2654 Gravois Ave, an organizing space. We have weekly meetings and events and outreach opportunities and volunteer opportunities. You can volunteer with the Black Power Blueprint projects. You can volunteer to do outreach. You can be a part of this movement in 1,000 different ways. So I wanted to ask if there's anybody here. First of all, raise your hand if you are already a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Okay, good. Glad to see that. So if you did not raise your hand, I want to ask, is there anybody here today that would like to go ahead and become a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement? All right, Uhuru. We have one hand in the back. So you're going to be getting your pledge card. Here we go, Uhuru. So, 3 people so far. Uhuru. All right, so let's give a round of applause for our new members. And I wanted to just want to welcome those of you who stepped up to join today. And also you can go to our table here, our outreach table, where some of our members are actively doing the work of USM right now. And you can sign up, you can donate, you can write a check out made out to Uhuru, you can do cash. And I wanted to see if there's anybody here that would like to contribute our goal of $1,000 today. And also we have an audience online. If you're watching online, you can go to uhurusolidarity.org and click the big red button that says pay reparations. Is there anybody today that would like, or 2 people that would be willing to contribute $500 each in reparations to the African People's Socialist Party? All right. Let's bring it down to $250. Is there anybody here today, 4 people, that would like to contribute $250 in reparations to the work of the African People's Socialist Party? All right, let's bring it to 100. I'm going to start this off. I will do $100. Uhuru. Are there 9 people or anybody who would like to match me at $100 in reparations today? All right, Uhuru, could you tell us your name?
I am Zoya. I'm a member of USM.
Zoya, a member of USM. All right, Uhuru Zoya. Anybody else want to match myself and Zoya? Okay, right back there. Could you tell us your name? Alex, Uhuru. We're at $300. And you can also donate anonymously in the basket. Did anybody not get a pledge card or not have the basket come their way? Anybody else want to put in $100 today? All right, Uhuru, could you tell us your name? Angelica, Uhuru. So we're very close to 500. Is there anybody else that would like to bring it right up to $500 with a $100 contribution? Oh, back here, technically not able to say his name because he's on security. But that's Brendan right there. Uhuru Brendan. All right, so we're at $500. Is there anybody that would like to put in $50 towards our goal today? Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny Hess, Uhuru. Anyone else want to match Chairwoman Penny Hess at $50? All right, let's bring it to $25. Oh, 30, okay. Any random number. If I'm not naming your number, just throw out any random number. Thank you. Could you tell us your name?
Casey.
KC.
Increase my monthly containership. I'm a Chaco Power member at 10. I'm gonna go with 3P Newton at 15.
Right on. Uhuru, upgrading your membership and $30.
New Che member back there.
Awesome. Uhuru. Uhuru. So we're going to give you a count of how much we've raised, but just want to say again, anybody that wants to do $25 or $30 or any amount at all, any random amount. 25. Could you tell us your name? Len, Uhuru Len. All right. So we will come back and announce how much we raised. I can't do math that quick. So but I think we're somewhere at like 700 or something, perhaps. And then we're going to factor in our new members as well. So I feel like we're getting close to our goal if we're not already at our goal, but we will come back up and announce that before we close out today. So Uhuru, salute everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. Uhuru. So we're going to go into our statements from our endorsers. And I really want to appreciate every organization and individual that has endorsed the March for Reparations of 2022, and some of which have endorsed the March for Reparations every year in the past 3 years that this march has taken place. And that includes our first speaker, who is the champion for the African community, not only in the 18th Ward, but throughout the city of St. Louis, and who is also a lifetime member of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, who was seen in that Channel 2 coverage that the chairman spoke of, standing right next to Chairman Omali Yeshitela on the morning of July 29th, on the day of the raids, taking a powerful stance in defense of the Uhuru Movement in opposition to these attacks. We are very honored to have with us Alderman Jesse Todd.
Uhuru hands of Africa. Reparations now. Reparations right now. Reparations should have been given more than 600 years ago. Right on. When these attacks first began. So, but first of all, let me acknowledge my leader. I'm an alderman, I'm elected, but this is my leader. The real leader. Help keep me straight. The chairman, Omali Yeshitela, let's get us to the chairman. And also, the deputy chair, let's give our hand. What I call real friends. We have here today real friends. That's right. Real white people who are friends. These are friends. Yeah. I mean, these people don't talk. They don't just talk to talk. They don't just talk to talk. They walk the walk. Yeah. They tell the truth. The first person who really, all of them tell the truth. I've even read a book by the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee. I read it twice. Penny Hess. All right. I haven't found anything in that book but truth. Right on. So, Penny, so if you want to know how to overturn the culture of violence,
Everybody should read that book.
Yeah.
You should read that book. You should buy your children, your relatives,
Yeah.
your friends.
Yeah.
You should buy that book.
Yeah.
Also, I read 4 of the chairman's book twice. And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm an educated, retired school teacher. And I'm gonna tell you this. If you want to teach your children how to read the chairman's book. Read Penny Hess's book. And those are the books, and I guarantee you as a teacher, your children would be reading.
Right
They'd
on.
be reading the right stuff.
Right.
Until we can get it in the system, having to read those kinds of books.
Right on.
That's how I learned to read.
Right on.
So I know you can learn to read the same way. But, so I want to give a shout out to Penny Hess, the chairman of the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and also Jesse Neville.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to him for challenging the system, running for mayor,
Yeah.
and just taking a very principled stand. I know most of the members of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Committee. I don't want to miss anybody, so I'm not going to call it the name since I'm a lifetime member too. I want to give a shout out to them. I want to give a shout out to all the friends who are here today. And you have to be a friend
Yeah.
to be here today.
Yeah.
Because you're supporting the movement that's not only going to free Africans,
Right.
this movement is going to free the world.
Right on.
This is not about freeing just Africa. We got in this situation because of the attack on Africa, and there's no other way to get out of this situation except to free the stolen resources that have been taken from Africa, including the people in every part of the world.
Yeah.
Once we free up the stolen resources, then we're going to free the world. When we start talking about, we cannot have solve the climate problem until we solve that's part of the stolen labor problem of stealing Africans and its resources. We cannot solve any of the problems we continue to talk about permanently until we solve the problem of the stolen labor, stolen land, and stolen resources from Africa.
Yeah.
So that's the main point. But until we do that, we must continue to have the support of, which is essential, of our friends, our North American friends who come out and continue to the problem that we have that is different than North American problem come from the problem of colonialism.
Yeah.
And I want to thank my the chairperson. I won't take any more of your time because I unite with everything that was said before me. So I don't have to repeat anything else. So I want to thank you for giving me the honor to speak at your rally. And again, and thank you for the great leadership, and thank you for supporting African people. And with your support, we will win the struggle, and we are winning. Uhuru.
Thank you, Jesse Todd. Uhuru.
It's an honor to share a first name with Alderman Jesse Todd. Salute. Thank you, Alderman Jesse Todd. Now I would like to bring up Sophia Siobhan, a representative of the Universal African Peoples Organization who endorsed the March for Reparations today.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
I see some people say Uhuru, but it's really Uhuru. Right. I learned how to say Uganda when I was in Uganda. And Americans always say Uganda, but they say Uganda. So I always correct people and they say, what do you mean? Uhuru. I thought it was Uhuru. No, it's ooh. All the U's are pronounced like ooh. But anyway, I'm happy to be here today. I'm standing in for Brother Zaki. He's out of town. So he asked me to represent UAPO, Universal African Peoples Organization. And I'm glad to do that because
I'll continue.
speaking of friends, Jesse Todd, we know who our friends are. They can't pick our friends, tell us who we're gonna associate with. What they say about you and Zaki got personal, you personal. Yeah, you see, we're friends because we have the same mindset.
Yeah.
We have the same goals. We have the same history of working for our people, free up and make this hopefully a place of make it a reality that everybody is fair and equal and honest, and so it's a big job, but we've been working on this for decades, all of our adult lives, and we will continue to fight. And it was I got my exercise for the month today. Well, yeah. I was down here first, then I had to leave here and walk down to the library, then I had to walk up there and now back down here. So, but anyway, I'm hanging in here. I'm hanging in here, and happy to be here today. As you know, Zaki and Chairman Yesateli and President Governor Zaki, President General Zaki Baruti, have a lot in common, and that's why they're good friends, because they love our people, they love Africa, and they'll go anywhere and speak anytime on those two things, And like I said, Zaki had a commitment out of town, so we couldn't let this rally and everything pass without being here. That's how important it is to us. And we're really happy. We were happy when Uhuru came to St. Louis, because we have few other progressive organizations, and we try to work with all of them, because it's not enough with one organization, and it's not enough with a couple organizations and so forth. So we believe in unity of all people, and we're glad to have the support of what we call y'all? Euro Americans, all the Euro Americans, right? We work with Euro Americans, and we work with Green Party. We work with everybody trying to accomplish a better world. And we don't point out the differences. We point out the similarities, what we have in common, because that's what's important. We can't, if they keep us, they got this divide and conquer thing. They divide us up, knock us off with, with one or two groups, and silence them. Nobody's going to silence Chairman Yesateli. Nobody's going to silence Zaki Baruti. So we just have to keep working and set that example of staying strong and staying in there. We are really, we really have to work against that division that they're trying to put up. And what they're trying to do now is isolate us by putting in this Russian aspect. They figure everybody's mad at Russia. If they tell that lie long enough, it'll stick. That's not going to stick, because we've been fighting for our rights. Has nothing to do with Russia, but they figure if they say that long enough and loud enough, because people are already upset about, they're already upset about Russia and invading Ukraine and killing all the people. So they figure if they stick that in there at this convenient time, they think they're gonna get 3 for 1. They got even included Cori Bush, Zaki, and Chairman Yesateli. It ain't gonna work. People know from history, just, we know what they're trying to do. Everybody is hip to that. Nobody's paying that any attention. So it's just important that we stay strong stay united and keep working for our people. And this includes black, white, brown, red, yellow, all people working together. And if they don't stop spending all this money on wars, then we'll all perish because they won't have any place to correct the environment. So everybody will just be dead from pollution and won't have fresh air to breathe and so forth. So yeah, that's what they're trying to take your mind off of what's really happening with this capitalistic system. But we're not gonna go for the okie doke. We won't be fooled, we won't be moved. We're gonna stand up,
Fight back.
stand up, stay strong. Unite Africa, unite
Yes.
Europeans, unite Asians, everybody. We have to all fight for reparations. And glad to be able to spend my birthday with you.
Happy birthday.
And happy revolutionary birthday,
Yeah.
to Sophia. Thank you so much. Really want to appreciate that statement. And also want to extend a salute to Zaki Baruti, the President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization, for endorsing this march. And thank you. And also Zaki Baruti was also there standing next to Chairman Omali Shatella on July 29th at that press conference in front of the chairman's home. So salute to UAPO. Thank you, Sophia Shaban. Salute to Zaki Baruti. Uhuru. So we have two more endorsers that we're going to be hearing from before we go to our closing remarks and wrap it up for today. Yes, so let's go to our last two endorsers. So I want to thank the Party for Socialism and Liberation for endorsing the March for Reparations for the third year in a row. And this person who's going to be speaking for the Party for Socialism and Liberation, in addition to endorsing and being here today, is also one of the people who was out at 6:30 in the morning several times throughout the past couple of weeks, doing what we call drops, going door to door with flyers and helping to get the word out about the March for Reparations. So we really appreciate you for being here and for the work that you did to build this march. And I'm excited to introduce Christina Brenly. Uhuru.
Right, Christina.
Christina.
Hi, everyone. This is my first time speaking, so I wanted to I wanted to thank you for allowing me to express the continued solidarity and support of the Party for Socialism and Liberation with our comrades in the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. The egregious attack by the FBI this summer against a movement expressing the natural right to self-determination is a clear indictment of the colonial system we live under. We in the PSL reaffirm the right of self-determination for all colonized people. Reparations to the Black community in the United States is the first step in a long road to the liberation of us all. This demand is based on the recognition of the great toll that centuries of slavery, genocide, theft, and super exploitation have taken on the Black nation inside the US. These reparations must be taken from the white supremacist state and the capitalist corporations that have profited for so long off the misery of African people.
Yes.
We in the Party for Socialism and Liberation are calling for a new reconstruction, a socialist reconstruction of our society that places the political and economic power into the hands of the people. The colossal wealth of this country was built on the stolen land by stolen people, and it is only right that they and their descendants be compensated for the unpaid labor that was a seed for so much abundance in this country. The ravages of COVID, the environmental degradation, the oppression of the system have had their effects most harshly felt on the Black and Brown community. The current injustices are but manifestations of the cruelty inherent in the system. I won't go into the deep historical injuries inflicted on the Black community here, but I will say that reparations and the right to organize in peace are the bare minimum we can give. As we can see by the impotent lashing out of the system, Against the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, we are entering a moment of crisis for capitalism. Now is the time for us to work in camaraderie within each other. We, in the strongest terms, condemn the raid against the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and the targeting of your chairman, Amalia Shatella. These attacks are an example of how the corrupt bourgeois democracy seeks at every turn to crush any expression or hope for true democracy. We are in the midst of an increased era of repression by the capitalist state, which must be met by an equal response by the socialist and liberatory left. We reaffirm our solidarity in the call for reparations and call for continued solidarity between our parties here in St. Louis and across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you to the PSL. Really appreciate that statement and really hope that you will join us on November 5th in Washington, D.C. for the Black People's March on the White House. And last but not least, we want to thank the Green Party for endorsing the March for Reparations, also for the third year in a row. And just want to welcome representatives from the Green Party who will be giving the final statement from the solidarity statement from our endorsers for the day before we go into our closing remarks. Uhuru. This is Jerome and Comrade Angelica. Uhuru.
Hello, I am Jerome Bauer, Green for St. Louis City Recorder of Deeds, and our candidate for County Assessor, Don Fitz, had been planning to give the statement today, but he had to leave, so I'm filling in for him. On August 1st, the Coordinating Committee of the Gateway Green Alliance and the St. Louis Green Party had an emergency meeting, and we prepared a short 3-minute statement in solidarity, which I was to deliver at the press conference. But I don't need 3 minutes to deliver what needs to be said. I can do it in 10 seconds. What happened to you guys was nothing less than an act of domestic state terrorism.
Yes.
That is the official collective view of the Coordinating Committee of the Gateway Green Alliance. So I'm proud to be here. I was proud to march with you, carrying a sign that said reparations now.
Yeah.
So, and Angie, would you like to say a few words too? Okay, no, okay, well, okay.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Angelica. Thank you to the Green Party of St. Louis. Uhuru. And I want to make a self-criticism. We actually have one more speaker who I'm very excited and honored to bring up. And I really want to appreciate Michelle Smith from the Missourians Against the Death Penalty, who is here to speak with us today. Uhuru.
Okay, Uhuru, wanted to thank Colombier for asking me to come today, and Jesse for contacting me, and of course, give my thanks to Chairman O'Malley. Of course, I have respected your work over the years. So my name is Michelle Smith. I'm the Director of Community Engagement and Outreach for an organization called Missourians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. And I'm here to talk about state violence. November 29th of this year, Missouri will execute Kevin Johnson. And when I say execute, that's state murder.
Yeah.
This state will murder Kevin Johnson. And there are 15 other people on our death row that they will murder. So my job is to amplify these issues in our state, in our community, and to unite people behind the fact that we need to stand up and stand strong against state-sponsored murder. So I want to just take a couple minutes to talk about Kevin because, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily know or remember his case, and I just really want to center us in why he is on death row. In 2005, there was a community called Meacham Park, and those from St. Louis know what I'm talking about. It's a Black community that is surrounded by a lot of rich white people. So we all kind of know what that usually means. This community was targeted for many years. And on that particular day, after a lifetime of trauma, abuse, and so much tragedy in Kevin's life, on July 5th of that year, his little brother died. He was 12 years old and he had a medical emergency. And normally when a child has a medical emergency, the police are called, EMTs, and they do their best to save a child. Well, that didn't happen that day for Kevin's brother. And they called him, his family name was Bam Bam. So I like to humanize him as well. So Bam Bam had a medical emergency. He had a seizure. And the police came, but they didn't really help, right? They treated his mother very callously. They were not very urgent in their response. And it actually took them 18 minutes to get this child to the hospital. And he did die, okay? So at 12 years old, Bam Bam passed away. Now, the police didn't necessarily do it. And, I understand that and we understand that. But when you're 19 years old, which is how old Kevin was, and when you watched this egregiousness happen, you feel like the police were responsible. Yeah. Several hours later, he did kill a policeman. Now, of course, he regrets it, right? I mean, when you have time to think, when you have time to actually get in a better mindset. But at that moment, he was not. He had basically lost the one person who he was charged to protect and defend and raise with his little brother, because their family had a lot of problems. And so he just lost it that day. He snapped. And so that should be taken into consideration, but it was not, because the same prosecutor who would not prosecute the person that killed Mike Brown, that same prosecutor was the one that put Kevin on death row.
They should not have,
Exactly. So we are glad that McCullough is not there. However, many people are still in prison, including Kevin, who will die November 29th. And so I'm here just to talk about that, to amplify Kevin, to just center what is going to happen that day, and to ask for everyone's support. We will be doing actions. I'm getting to a point where I'm tired of the praying and asking and, just coming out on that day. I want to let this state know and this governor know that we're not just going to be quiet and watch them kill Kevin. Yeah. And so that's really why I'm here. We will be planning some actions. We'll be going to the Capitol. We're going to go all over the state, and we're just asking for everyone's support. If you want to get outside with us and do some events, let me know. And we are going to be planning some things. And whatever happens that day, which likely will be his murder, it's not going to happen quietly. And that's my promise to him and to his family. So again, thank you all for inviting me and letting me come and talk a few minutes. I do have some information if anybody wants it, but please, if you want to support what we're doing for Kevin and everyone else on death row in this state, please, see me, talk to me, and support what's going on. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really want to give a round of applause to Michelle Smith and thank Missourians Against the Death Penalty for being here. And we felt like it was very important for a march for reparations to have a representative from Missourians Against the Death Penalty to talk about this campaign, this case. The Uhuru Solidarity Movement 100% backs the demand to stop this brutal state-sanctioned lynching of Kevin Johnson, and frankly, for his release and the release of all African people who are held in U.S. colonial prisons, who, as the African People's Socialist Party says, are all political prisoners. And the death penalty is a weapon of colonial genocide, and we are absolutely opposed to it. So I really appreciate being able to have Michelle Smith from the MADP here at the March for Reparations. And we're coming to the end of our rally today. I want to encourage people to stick around and check out our tables that we have here. We have Beau Feet over here with the Uzi custom clothing. So we definitely want to encourage people to check that out. We also have the Uhuru Planet booth over here, and USM literature. We have books by Chairman Amalia Shatella and Overturning the Culture of Violence by Chairwoman Penny Hess. So you can be like Alderman Jesse Todd and get all of those books and read them many times over. We also have the Burning Spear newspaper, the latest issue, which is all about the Black People's March on the White House. And you can sign up and get more information about other upcoming events, meetings. We're going to have an open meeting at the Uhuru Solidarity Center on Tuesday night, October 25th, to talk about moving into a campaign called Giving Tuesday to raise funds for the Uhuru Wakulia African Women's Health Center of the Black Power Blueprint. On November 29th, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is going to host a 24-hour reparations telethon, the third annual reparations telethon, to raise funds and support for this incredible anti-colonial program of the Black Power Blueprint. So before we ask if our two keynote speakers, Chairman O'Malley and Chairwoman Penny, have any closing remarks for us, I wanted to announce how much we were able to raise today. And I'm gonna look around. Where is Hallie here somewhere? Oh.
She's coming back.
Okay, so we'll get.
I'll go get them.
Okay, thanks. So we're about to find out. We're on the edge of our seats here. We're about to find out how much we raised. And did anybody's pledge card not get collected? Okay, one person's pledge card did not. Anybody else? Are you still holding your envelope in your hand? Nobody took it from you. Is that okay? So one person. Do we have a new total? $1,021. All right, $1,021.
3 new members and 1 upgrade.
Wow, all right. There's more coming in though, but we made our goal. Uhuru, everyone. Unity through
Reparations.
All right, so to close it out, I just wanted to see Chairman O'Malley Shatella, any closing remarks that you had for our rally today?
I just want to again express my appreciation for everybody who came. And special appreciation for all of the various organizations that endorsed this mobilization and came out. I mentioned earlier in the 1960s when this thing that they characterized as COINTELPRO, but it was bigger than just the FBI. People know that the FBI had a program that was called COINTELPRO, but it was the CIA, it was NSA, it was various military intelligence organizations, as well as local police intelligence organizations that attacked us at the time. But most of us, we didn't know exactly what was happening. We knew we were being hit from all these places, but this time they told us, and that's helpful. And so it's extremely important that everybody knows you're here. That's extremely important. And it means that they won't be as successful this time as they were the last time in terms of isolating the Black Liberation Movement. It means that that you represent a part of the fight back. And whatever else is occurring, the fact is that they attacked us because we were struggling for the total liberation, unification of African people globally. That's what we were fighting for. That's why they attacked us. And your presence here was a statement of your solidarity with our right to advocate for that and to organize around that. So that's a problem that they have. So we open up a new front, and you have expanded that front with your presence and the work that you're doing here. And I think that's extremely important. And because they never expect to see white people with this kind of solidarity. Usually there's sympathy and charities and things like that, but to say that we unite with the right of African people to organize for self-determination, organize for the liberation of Africa themselves, that's a profound thing. And I want to express my appreciation for that, and I hope that you will recognize the significance of that as well. And finally, I do hope that you were able to hear like the announcements about meetings and conferences that's coming up, and that you'll support the Black Power Blueprint, and that get on the bus. And if there's not enough room on this bus, then get another bus. But it's going to be really important. November 5th is extremely important for us to show up, because part of what this will be the 14th annual March on the White House that has been sponsored by the Black is Back Coalition. This is not something that's been sponsored and endorsed by the Democratic Party. None of the Democratic Party labor unions or anything like that got buses or anything like that. It's on us to do it. And it's a profound statement that you'll be able to make to come out. And it's our statement of opposition to what the FBI has done and solidarity with the struggle for African people. So thank you again for being here. This is the 50th, this year was the 50th anniversary of the African People's Socialist Party. And I say this as part of the evidence of the ridiculous charge that somehow working for 50 years for African self-determination, we decided to sell out to the Russians. That somehow we fighting against colonial white power to get another power that would be telling us what to do. And you can't unite with that. You can't unite with that because part of that is a part of the slander that's imposed against African people, that we're too stupid, too backwards, too inept to be able to recognize what we need and what it is that we have to do. Some Russians or somebody else would have to come in and tell us that. You disagree with that mightily, I know you do. I hope you'll be on that bus on November 5th. If you don't, to be there in Washington, D.C. on November 5th, March I hope, Michelle, it would be really important for Missouri against the death penalty, to have a presence there as well, to bring as many forces you can and raise that issue around the death penalty, because that's a form of genocide, it's a form of terror that they use against African people. It's one of the weapons that they got against you all the time. So you're too afraid to struggle, to fight back. They use that, they use things like stand your rights and other kinds of stuff like that to be able to legitimately, legally kill and terrorize Black people. So we have to push back against that. So I hope that you will be able to get folk there in Washington, D.C. as well. And thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Comrade Jesse and Comrade Penny and everybody who's associated with the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Uhuru. Yeah, I did acknowledge Comrade Deputy Chair Onasinaya Shatella, who in many ways was part of this target, just in terms of the economic work that she presides over. This is a parasitic relationship that the colonized people have with colonialism. And that's why they're attacking people around the world who are trying to negate this relationship. Whether it's in Afghanistan, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Venezuela, people don't want to have all their resources, their lives, their lands, and what have you transferred to Europe and to North America. And so when we establish these independent economic institutions, part of it is we call it dual and contending power that we're creating, so that the African community can achieve levels of self-reliance that negates the significance of the colonial economy in our lives. And you should support that as well. That's part of what it means to support these economic institutions. Uhuru.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, everybody. This concludes day one of the March for Reparations and conference, because the conference is tomorrow. Don't forget, 9 a.m. This continues at the Uhuru House in Aquaba Hall at 4101 West Florissant Ave. And that is going to be a powerful conference on reparations, what reparations means, how we can make reparations a reality, how reparations is being made a reality. And we're also going to have the honor to go on a tour led by Deputy Chair Onasinaya Shatella of the Black Power Blueprint that the chairman was just talking about. So join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. at 4101 West Florissant Ave. Thank you, everybody. Uhuru, unity through. Unity through. Hands off Uhuru. Uhuru.